You're looking to start teaching. Should you do a TEFL or a CELTA? Here's my own personal experiences, what I did, and what my recommendations are for you. So first of all, what is a TEFL? TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. Now this is a certificate that you've probably seen online if you've already been looking for teaching qualification courses, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them out there. So it's quite overwhelming to know what are you looking for, which one should you do, what will help you the most on your teaching journey. So I actually did a TEFL way back in, I can't even remember what year, and I did this because this was the only option that I knew of. I kept seeing recommendations for different TEFL courses and I knew I wanted to teach and travel. However, I didn't know about the CELTA at the time, so TEFL was the only option for me. I came across a course which was from TEFL England, which are now called TEFL.org, and it was a 120-hour course with an option to add a Young Learner extension. So from my research at the time, I knew that I needed at least 120 hours of teaching experience, although I later found out that the TEFL didn't actually give me that in teaching experience. And the course that I actually booked had a grammar section, it had obviously the different methodologies and different approaches that you can take in the classroom when you're delivering your lessons. And it actually had a practical aspect as well, which involved sort of a weekend in a hotel with a group of other teachers or learning to be teachers, getting to know each other and sort of building your teaching skills essentially. So I must admit, I found my TEFL course very rewarding. I found that it gave me the basis of grammar knowledge that I needed. I'd always been passionate about the English language, but I didn't actually delve into the grammar until I'd done my TEFL course. So I found that aspect of it very helpful. I'll also admit that I do think it helped me find a job at the time. However, we are living in a different time to when I took it, which was around 2009. So things have changed since then. And of course, a lot more teachers are qualified with other qualifications as well, perhaps a degree and a master's and a TEFL. So it all depends what you're wanting to do this qualification for. If you simply want to travel and teach, a TEFL is a great option, particularly if you've got a degree already. However, I would recommend having a basic grammar knowledge. So let's have a look at some other pros and cons of the TEFL. First of all, the cost. A TEFL course is generally significantly cheaper than a CELTA course. It can range anywhere from the certificates you find online for $50, £50, all the way up to a £500 certificate. Now let's compare this to the CELTA. The cost of a CELTA is around £1,500 to £2,000, and this is a significant difference from doing a TEFL. The second point is time. A TEFL is generally 100% self-study, so you have an online platform where you log in with your details, and generally you can do this at your own pace. There usually is a time limit to when you need to do this, but it is more of an autonomous study. With a CELTA, you can do it full-time or part-time. With my full-time course, it was a full month, all day, every day of studying and in-classroom practice. A part-time CELTA can take between 10 and 15 weeks. So it really is a dedication of time if you have that available. Let's move on to the next point, which is the content of the course. A TEFL, as I mentioned, focuses quite heavily on grammar. It also focuses on teaching the 4 main skills, so reading, listening, speaking, and writing. However, this is more of an overview rather than going into depth about different sub-skills and how to actually bring those to life in the classroom and how to hone your students' skills. The CELTA, on the other hand, does give you practical tips, methodologies, and more awareness of how to actually deliver lessons and respond to students. I found on my CELTA course that it taught me to elicit language from students, to reduce my teacher talking time, to realize that it's okay to let students study autonomously and to give them the time that they need in order to complete the activities that I'm setting them. It taught me to monitor my students. It taught me different feedback methods. It taught me how to bring grammar to life, which is crucial. That being said, the CELTA is much more intensive, and if you're doing a face-to-face course, you are being studied and watched by your peers. So that's something to also keep in mind. However, I found this experience very helpful and very practical. As someone who hadn't taught before and hadn't been in the classroom, I found it very useful to put myself in that situation. And we also had students in the class too. These were language learners who wanted to come to the class to get free English lessons from trainee teachers. So you do get hands-on practical experience with the CELTA, which you wouldn't get for the TEFL. In my TEFL 2-day weekend, I was simply teaching other trainee teachers who already had a knowledge of of English. So while I was able to practice some of the activities that I had learnt and that were taught to me in the TEFL course, it actually didn't really give me a feel for what it's like to teach real students. Point 4 is recognition. Now this is something that I really wish that I knew when I first did my TEFL certificate. I actually wish that I'd gone straight on and just did my CELTA straight away and then done my DELTA, which I later did. However, I didn't know this at the time. I didn't have much guidance. And although YouTube was around, there weren't sort of videos giving you advice and things like that, or not that I knew of. So I just wish that I'd had a bit of guidance and done my CELTA much earlier than I did. So the thing about recognition is that there are so many TEFL courses out there that aren't actually accredited by any awarding body. So let's take an example. I could create a TEFL course, I could upload it online, and I could sell it as a TEFL course. However, I wouldn't be accredited by anything, but I could say that I am accredited by ELTcpd, which is the name of the channel. So I can say that I'm accredited by somebody, yet the CELTA is actually accredited through an awarding body. Now the CELTA is a Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults, and this is accredited by Cambridge University, which of course is a renowned institute. So in terms of recognition, if this is your deciding factor, then CELTA wins hands down for me.